Hello, my name is Zach Morris, and about a week ago I made a video about why I prefer to live in Colombia instead of the United States. It was made in Spanish. I was like, well, I should probably make that video in English so all of my native English-speaking friends and the rest of the world that speaks English can get informed on how cool Colombia actually is. This video is not to speak poorly about the United States. If it wasn't for being born in the United States, I wouldn't have such a good education, a sense of security, and the ability to travel to Colombia. But it is fascinating to see how living in a different country can enrich you. Living in Colombia has showed me a new way of life, it's expanded on my world understanding, and it's taught me a new language. So I'm going to explain to you why I prefer living in Colombia. I've lived in Colombia on and off for the past 3 years, so it's enough to develop an understanding of the culture. All of my observations are based off of my experience in the US. So, with no further ado, the first reason why I prefer to live in Colombia instead of the US is the people. Growing up in the US, I lived in a big house, we had a big front yard, and we had multiple cars. So I never really had to communicate with my neighbors on a daily basis because I was isolated by the big front yard and by always traveling in the car. Alright, so in Colombia, it's almost the exact opposite. Okay, so most people take the bus, most people shop at the corner store, and you have to interact with the people around you. And everybody's really nice when they interact with each other. From strangers, you'll hear things like, God bless you, and how nice of you, and neighbor. It's kind of beautiful because people rely more on the community than technology. The second reason why I prefer to live in Colombia is the food, la comida. I grew up eating food from boxes, cans, plastic containers, and fast food. When we went to restaurants, we had food from other parts of the world. Yeah, I grew up in the South and we had the occasional barbecue where we had mashed potato, chicken and dumplings, corn on the cob. But in Colombia, every city, every region, every department has a food that defines it. Everyone's proud of the food that their region produces and that it's their food. Everybody's like, oh my God, you gotta try the arepas from my pueblo. And I love that Colombia has its own food identity. Also in Colombia, the food is never wasted. If anything, it's given to the dogs. Food production in Colombia causes less environmental harm than it does in the US, and that makes me feel good. The third reason why I prefer to live in Colombia is the culture. Yeah, I say culture right in English. Growing up in South Carolina, we were never taught our state dance or our state dress or our state music. As far as I know, we don't have any of that. In the US, we are a huge melting pot of people from all different kinds of cultures, and that is part of what makes America awesome. But in Colombia, every place can be defined by its words, its music, its food, its dress. So in Colombia, you can see the culture a lot easier than you can in the US. And it's awesome to go and explore and find out little cultural information about every place you go to. The fourth reason why I prefer to live in Colombia is the music. Growing up in the US, I listened to country, I listened to rock, and I listened to rap, and we got some dope beats, brah. But in Colombia, every region has a music that's exclusive to that region. You wanna hear vallenato? Ve a la costa, go to the coast. And for every region's music, there's a dance that goes with it. Growing up in the US, no one teaches you how to dance. In the US, you dance like this. Or at least I do. In Colombia, there's like 10 dances from every region, and everybody just knows how to dance. They're just like, yeah, I'm Colombian, I'm really good at dancing. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm a gringo, I don't know how to dance. But I love it, I love it. The fifth reason why I like Colombia is the nature. The Andes mountain range passes through Colombia. So almost every big city in Colombia is surrounded by mountains, and it constantly reminds you that you're in Mother Nature and that you're on the planet Earth, and I love it. Of course, the US has Yosemite, Grand Canyon, and it has a lot of nature, but in Colombia, you're constantly reminded that you're surrounded by nature, and it's beautiful. The sixth reason why I prefer living in Colombia, this is a good one, pay attention. In Colombia, everybody's way more relaxed. 2-hour lunch break, minimum. In Colombia, commodities like dishwashers or drying machines are a lot less common. But what I love about it is that everybody makes do with what they have. In the US, we're super consumptive. We tend to want our house to be decked out with sound systems, exercise rooms, 87-piece furniture sets, and we don't even use that stuff, maybe 3 times a year. Now, of course, all of this is available in Colombia, and this mindset of gotta have it all is becoming more and more popular. But in Colombia, it's still a lot more common to see people sharing what they have and being completely happy if they don't have something. In Colombia, people focus more on spending time with family and friends and doing activities together than accumulating material wealth. I'm from the millennial generation, the generation that has the most access to information and knowledge readily available. And you know what the millennial generation is all about? Collecting experiences, not things. I find it fascinating that a developing country focuses on the exact same thing as my advanced generation. Seventh thing I love about Colombia, the women. Colombian women are really beautiful. Colombian women also from my experience, tend to really spoil their husband or their boyfriend. They're really passionate people. They really know how to make you feel alive. And I'm not sure if you've seen the beauty pageants lately, but they usually finish near the top, and it's because they're beautiful people. They're Colombian women. I love them. Stars and a